All right, let's take a closer look at the state of play in the U.S. China trade talks with Cheng. He's the senior research fellow with the Heritage Foundation's Asia Studies Center, and Jonathan Hoenig, hedge fund manager of KeplerPig.com. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to be with you, Lauren.
Okay, so it's being reported, and I'll give you this question first, Dean, that there would be this extension, perhaps a 60-day, 2-month extension for the trade talks. But does that really just add pressure to actually get some structural changes here for the president of the United States?
I think it adds pressure to both sides, because the problem here is that what the U.S. is asking for is significant changes in how the Chinese do business. This isn't just a matter of buying more soybeans or buying more airliners. We're saying to the Chinese, you need to stop IP theft, which is unfortunately baked into a number of their bureaucracies. And so what's on the table here is for Xi Jinping to actually deliver something that can then be enforced.
Jonathan, I want to pull up a quote. This is from an editorial in the Global Times, which is the Chinese state-run newspaper, and it says this: while the U.S. started the trade war, it is now more willing to reach an agreement with China. China will never harm its fundamental interests. The policy has been tested by the trade war, and we have seen the change in Washington's attitude. So China is, you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Well, you know, each leader is trying to spin, of course, the trade war for his own constituency. But, you know, it's been harmful for both, Lauren, for both groups, for both countries. It's hurt the U.S., it's hurt China markedly. Even look at just at the tariffs. We know they are set to increase at the end of the month. We're talking about $9 billion that Americans have paid in tariffs in just the last quarter. That's about, what, $100 million a day. And this has affected, certainly, China. Their economy has been wrecked by this, but a lot of American companies as well, from big and small, mom and pops to Fortune 500, they've all mentioned the tariff specifically as having an impact on their business, in many cases having to eat the cost themselves. So, you know, these talks are ongoing, obviously, so many investors and many leaders, business leaders, are watching very intently. We've been told the trade war will be off soon. Hasn't been off just yet. That's why everyone's waiting on pins and needles for this result.
Dean, how do we ensure follow-through?
Well, I think that the first thing is going to have to be to see what the Chinese are willing to say about cutting back on IP theft. Then it's going to be a matter of finding an enforcement mechanism. And whether or not we can do all of that in 60 days past the March 1st deadline is a good question. I do think, however, given past Chinese behavior, we should be prepared for the Chinese to then break their agreement.
What about snapback sanctions? You know, if you don't agree, I'm sorry, not sanctions, tariffs. But it would work like snapback sanctions do. If you don't agree, Dean, then we are going to increase tariffs at a later time because you didn't follow through.
Well, clearly the threat of going to 25% is on the table and presumably would stay there. I certainly hope that they're not like the snapback sanctions, because we found out that despite then Secretary of State Kerry's promise, they aren't nearly as snappy as he said they would be.
Yeah.
And I think the promise for those potential new tariffs, further tariffs, it's one of the reasons, Lauren, I think you're starting to see consumer confidence tick down. You know, January was the lowest consumer confidence of the president's term. A lot of that, I think, has to do with business leaders hesitating to make those investment decisions, to allocate that capital, just as you said, not knowing whether the tariffs are going to be increased, decreased, for a period of time or ongoing. We just simply don't know.
Final question right here, Jonathan. Do you think that the president basically will accept the deal that he gets in order to move on to other issues, and he can spin it as a victory?
Well, always with this president, you simply don't know. I think even some of his negotiators don't know, Lauren. That's what makes it so difficult for investors to determine exactly what the course is this is going to be. We'll have to wait and see. We've been fooled before. This might be it, these final negotiations.
Jonathan, Dean, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.